Hi, and welcome to the Fluid Voice. I'm Ozma in the Dark, and she, they pronouns, and I'm having a decent day. How about you, Christy? How are you doing?
Better now that I'm doing this. So.
Oh, okay. That's good. I'm glad I can brighten things. What pronouns fit you best?
She, her.
Okay. Perfect. How are you doing?
Things are going swimmingly for me, and he, him pronouns.
Okay. And today's guest, we have someone who I've been friends with since childhood, I would say. Rose Hill, how are you doing?
I'm doing all right. I am she, her.
Okay. So, today we are going to talk about the asexuality spectrum, something that I care a lot about. But, so how much do you know about the asexuality spectrum, Christy?
Fair amount.
Okay. I mean, I might have left on about it, too. What about you, Perfict?
Never talked about it before, that's why.
Yeah, my understanding of it, I suppose, would be rudimentary. Just address yourself to a person and then don't care what they're doing with their sex life.
I mean, yeah, I mean, that's a reasonable response, but, I mean, okay, so part of the reason I wanted to bring Rose Hill on here is because you introduced me to the asexuality spectrum as a concept. I don't know if you remember or know that. I know I was like trying to figure myself out a bunch, and there's a lot of back and forth texting with relation to that. So, for those who don't know, and correct me if I'm wrong about any of this, since I'm guessing you know more than me, because I've only researched so much based off of what you said. There's, I mean, the general premise is a lack of sexual attraction to some various sexual or romantic attraction to some various degree. So, like, if I mean, I guess Christy or Perfict, if you could describe sexual attraction, because I'm not a good person to describe it, and I had to ask a friend to verify that that's
if I could
what it
describe
actually
sexual
was.
attraction, I would be rich.
If I could describe, I haven't felt sexual attraction until very recently.
Okay. Well, my friend.
How's that?
No, my friend said it was like you find someone attractive in some sort of way in which, like, if they wanted to do you and you both, like, there wasn't any other issue involved, like either you're single or you're fine with one night stands or whatever, but sort of like if they would do you, you would totally, if they are willing, you totally do them. Like, they're totally the type of person that you would have sex with. That's my understanding of sexual attraction.
That's the basic explanation I've gotten from, like, my aloe friends. Like,
Yeah.
in perfect circumstances, you would look at this person and go, yes, in perfect circumstances, this is the sort of person I would have sex with.
Yeah.
Well, Yeah, I it's barely. It's not. I know. I don't. There's stuff you don't know about me. Ha.
Uh-huh. Yeah. That happens.
I am definitely of romantic attraction. I'm not generally of sexual attraction.
Okay.
It's been. I could give you the date since but it's been more than 18 years since I last had sex.
Yeah, yeah, no, my sexual history is, very small-lived. Small-lived. That sounds like I'm making a dick joke. But, to my understanding, and if you're comfortable saying, what made you discover about this? I never asked before. If it's something you're okay with saying. If not, that's fine.
I can certainly tell that story if you want. It might be a bit more convoluted than you realize in asking for it, but I can definitely tell that story.
Okay.
So I first heard about asexuality probably freshman year of college, so 18, right into college.
Okay.
One of the other people in the Pride group. We seem to have lost Perfict.
Yeah, Perfect's internet sometimes cuts out. It might be one of those internet days for Perfict.
All right.
I know my internet connection was unstable for a bit, so yeah.
All right. I will continue the story. Excuse me. And at the time, it was basically described to me as this is a lack of sexual attraction or interest in sex. And I went, okay, so that is not me because I enjoy sex, so that cannot be me. And it was, years later, after graduation, that I started doing more research into asexuality and the ace spectrum, actually because of characters that I was writing for a novel. So I wanted to research it and do this well. And it wasn't until that point, mid to late 20s, that I ran into the idea that of demisexuality and the idea of forming attraction after there's an emotional bond, and then also that aces can still have and enjoy sex, there's just no attraction to other people. And at that point I realized that most people are serious when they talk about being sexually attracted to other people. I kind of thought everyone was joking for years or making this up, which is a very common ace feel. So that was the point where I realized I actually do belong somewhere on this spectrum.
Yeah. And for me it was so I don't think I've mentioned my story here. So my story is a lot less interesting in that I didn't I was in a relationship in that I was asked out and I went with it. And then we stayed in that relationship too long, broke up, and then I'm because I was trying to deal with transitioning, and I'm just sex, because I realized after that relationship, oh, you're back, good. I realized after that relationship that sex is important to most people. So it's oh fuck, I don't want to think about relationship stuff until after transitioning. And then after hormones, I was fuck it. I might me getting gender confirming surgeries on the table. Let me actually think about relationships. And I was oh wait. the same sort of thing. Like I didn't think sexual attraction meant you would like actually have sex with them. I don't know why I didn't make the connection. Like it's right there in the the title. It's sexual attraction. And I'm just like, well, maybe that just means you want to be around them was the way I always thought about it. And I figured myself out. Like I think I don't know if you've been on the podcast or if you're interested or know about it. The Aok Podcast is something that's been going on in Minnesota since almost a couple years ago. I think I was like the 5th person on that podcast. Like it just started up. I don't know why I didn't think to recommend it to you earlier. Anyways, a bit beside the point. So I spent a lot of time in denial and trying to figure stuff out. And it was like demisexual quizzes that I can... Like, I think you did a demisexual quiz once, and you're like, you talked about some of the stuff that the quiz got wrong, and I'm like, but I relate to all of the things on the demisexuality quiz. And then that's when I started actually, like, thinking, I'm like, wait a minute. Maybe this stuff does apply to me. I think recently the best way I could describe myself is gray asexuality. Because and correct me if I'm wrong about this, but very much I need the emotional connection, and it's very I rarely am sexually attracted to like a specific person. It's always someone I have a close connection to. So
Yep. Bit of both demi and gray in there, and I feel like those tend to be like fairly closely related anyways, though that might just be like my perception of it. But like demi, you only form the sexual attraction after like you have some sort of bond with them, and gray is just very rarely having sexual attraction just at all, and like those can overlap massively.
And I was because it's one of those things where I got the impression that the emotional connection was more important for gray asexuality than ace flux, unless I mix them up.
That I'm less sure on. I am most sure about demi being demi myself.
Yeah.
So, but there's definitely a lot of identities under the ace spectrum.
Yeah, because so I get the impression that there are a lot of biological factors relating to sexual attraction. Because I think that helped the humans population fuck as much as they do. That's my impression on it. And you hear about with stories of like the nature of people's sexual attraction changing from like when they first met them to like when they're in a relationship for a long time. Like people have talked about that where a lot, where it's just like there's the initial spark, and then sometimes they've got and then it becomes more they're sexually attracted to the person, which is the aspect most often with demisexuality. Although the amount of time varies.
Yeah.
Christy. Christy, you were going to say something.
Yeah, Christy.
You first, Christy. You started.
No, that's definitely where I'm I'm an emotional connector. I don't. Again enjoy sex, but I'm not. It's not a be all of anything.
Yeah.
With person who shall not be named, I suppose. I was actually quite surprised where I was sexually attracted in any fashion. That's not even close to a thing with me. So.
Yeah. Okay, now you perfect.
Well, I was going to say, as you're describing it, I would say that it sounds like I feel about watching people play golf. I know that there are people who do it. There's whole television channels devoted to it. But I honestly don't see the attraction. But if somebody I knew was into it, and maybe they were in a tournament, I could see I might be interested in going and doing that with them. But basically, there's nothing there for me. So it really is not a thing of interest to me. Is that a fair parallel?
That is a good sort of like sex neutral analogy there.
Yeah.
So like this is something that comes up a lot in the ace community specifically, is like a distinction between like sex favorable, sex neutral, sex negative, and like sex repulsed. So you have sex positive people like me who are like, yes, sex is a thing I enjoy and I am here for it. And you have sex neutral people who are like, meh, could take it or leave it, don't care if my partner's interested, whatever. And you have sex
for the most part,
like,
sex neutral.
right? And then you have people who are like, no, this is not my thing.
Or
not gonna do it.
Yeah.
And then you have people who are like, nope, that sounds horrible. In fact, keep it away from me.
Oh, sorry. I should say, sex, sex neutral for, well, I have a version to male secondary sexual characteristics. I definitely have a sexual aversion to that. Like, that would just be blah. But yeah, really most of the time it's just nothing, except sometimes it's positive under specific circumstances and specific days and regarding specific people. Look, I have a dream, and that dream is to be in a situation where I can have 2 or 3 roommates, one of which I can make out with occasionally, and a lot of cuddling. That's my goal. That's the most important thing. Yeah, and maybe sex once in a blue moon. That would be ideal. But I have not achieved that dream yet. But yeah, no, definitely when it comes to things, I think one of the things that gets ignored, or there's been a lot of complaint I've heard about aromanticism, because I mean there's a lot of demonization of aromanticism. Like, if you're sexually attracted to people but you don't have like the romantic feelings, like, and that doesn't mean no feelings at all. Like, you can love to have someone as a friend, and you could really enjoy the idea of you guys having sex, but you don't want to do anything other than that with them. That's the impression I got, but that doesn't mean, like, you can care about friends a lot. Like, you can have close friends. And it's not... I guess the biggest thing that with asexuality with me is the split attraction model is so useful.
Yes.
I think I mean, I think it's potentially useful for everyone, because like aesthetic attraction
Mhm.
is something that people can get confused about. So you've talked about aesthetic attraction before. How would you describe that?
Oh,
I'm curious.
I've heard it described as like aesthetic attraction is sort of like admiring art. So like for a person, it'd be like you look at this person and go like, wow, they're really beautiful, but there's not that interest in sex. There's not that interest in romance. There's not even that interest in like, wow, I'd want to be this person's friend. It's just I'm going to admire this lovely picture of a person, sort of thing.
Yeah. If I look at Scarlett Johansson from like Black Widow, and I'm like, she's really hot. Like, I totally get that. That's more important to other people, but she is definitely attractive. Whereas I think the thing that I always was very easily mixed up with romantic feelings is squishes. I think that they're I swear I read somewhere they're called squishes. The plutonic feelings. I don't know if any of you. I don't know if you've experienced it or described it. The feeling of like that's a person I really want to be like great friends with.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, always.
Yeah.
I mean, a lot, I should say. It's okay. To put where I'm not unromantic. I am very romantic. I'm very attached to the person I'm with.
Yeah.
Sex is a take it or leave it situation. I haven't left it entirely. I have 2 children. You know, which is but the person before I prefer the spending of time with people, and I enjoy sex just fine. It's with the person I've been with on and off for the last 2.5 years. It's having any sexual attraction to her was a surprise. It was not it's always some kind of mental connection. It has to be fairly strong, and I can't do one night stands. It's not a thing. But I've also had a strange relationship with my own body anyway.
Yeah.
So I'm not worried about that. But the person before, so from 2015 to 2018, was sex negative ace. So, and okay, you know.
Yeah, like so I'm starting to get the impression. No wonder we like connect, Christy. It's good. It's because you can understand what it means to be in it for the cuddles.
I am always in it for the cuddles. That's
Cuddling is the best.
Cuddling is great.
That has actually been an intention mess up when I went to cuddle with somebody, and they were like, "Well, that just means we're that just leads on to other thing," and I'm like, "It does."
Yeah, like cuddling could just be cuddles. You can have cuddle buddies. Cuddle buddies need more acceptance. More cuddling needs to happen in life, and hand-holding. Different countries allow you to, like, it's more okay for men to handhold, and here it's more okay for women to handhold, but everybody needs to handhold a lot. No, I mean, there's touch starvation is a thing, so.
Yes, I'm very much in that area.
Yeah, the pandemic isn't helping with that.
Right.
But yeah, I think I get the impression that a lot of stuff is assumed to be only a relationship thing, and all relationships are expected to have these factors, sex, makeout sessions, whatever else relationship has, cuddles, obviously, hand-holding.
People seem to be talking about the whole thing as if it had as if they had a reference, a chart, where you could plot the coordinates of where you were at on various issues. Is this something that actually exists, or?
In terms of like a relationship chart, or in terms of like an asexuality chart?
An asexuality chart, something where you're saying, I'm interested, but only under very certain circumstances.
Yeah. So,
I mean,
should I link it?
A couple of different charts, honestly.
Yeah, no, there's more than one different. I like the asexuality wiki. I know that sounds really cheesy, but it's
we need to get those in the links in the deep doobly-doo there.
Yeah, no, so, or maybe it isn't the asexuality wiki. Am I thinking of a different wiki?
Well, as far as romantic, as you probably noticed, I feel romantic feelings very strongly.
Yeah, I'm very much not sure about myself with romantic feelings. I'm a confusing mess when it comes to romantic feelings.
Well, I
experience
about
them.
Cuddling, and a lot of people who are asexual still want romance, and they still want the
but like, what counts as romance? Because a lot of that stuff can be broken down. Like, making out can be seen as a romantic thing. Wanting to I guess display affection to your partner for the purpose of, like, you can do the same action and not have the same feelings behind it. So it like is possible to have sex with someone purely to for the experience of sex, and it not really being about that person. It's just a person that you trust or whatnot, and isn't going to be like awful to you and is fine with fucking you if you're horny. And that's if you have that interest. Like, you can do that, but you can also be like, I want to fuck this type of person, or this person specifically. Like, that's a different feeling. Like, even though all three of those are sex, all three of those involve the same action. That's a similar thing with so like it's a similar.
Those might be hard to differentiate from someone who is just following you around and observing you.
Yes, but it's one of those things where sometimes it's hard to feel like it's easy to feel like because it's hard to see that outside of it's just hard to find out about it. Like you because like I always like you see romance in television shows, and it is the most mild amount of romance possible, and most of it in TV shows is friendship related stuff. Like the difference is that a lot of detail is filled in by the average viewer.
Yeah.
But like, I wanted to get into a relationship because I essentially just wanted everything on the TV show and none of the other stuff. So like, and I wasn't motivated enough to put actual effort into trying to get into a relationship, because it's not like, it's more like I would really like that, but it's not the worst if I don't have that. And so it's really, oh, there we go. Here's the one I like. I like the primary versus secondary sexual attraction model, personally. I'm a big fan of that.
The
Let me.
Yeah, I've got two things. One of them a lot shorter than the other. The first one is I'm really glad that Siren V skipped out, decided not to do tonight. he was scheduled, or not. I mean, he was scheduled to be the fourth co-host. That's my kid, so some of this I don't want him to talk about it much.
Understandable, very understandable.
The second was how do I'm trying to I thought I had a good way of putting this, but I suppose I don't, so I'll put it very bluntly. The last person to whom I was sexually attracted was after we'd been somewhat back and forth for a while, and then I found myself getting sexually attracted. And then it was just after that I realized I had no idea what her body looked like. I had never paid attention to it.
Yeah.
It's entirely mental to me.
Yeah, and yeah.
That's a very Demi thing.
So
yeah, and I think a lot of this is like the romance thing is even harder to figure out because it's like, what is love? What counts as there's like a million different, or not a million, but like the Greek breakdown is better than the English breakdown.
I disagree highly, but
well, the English breakdown's just love. And love can mean like several different things, and the Greek actually breaks it down to different types of love.
What is this thing called? Love? or more recently, which is, or in the case of mine, my thing, which is, what is love? Oh baby, don't hurt me.
Yeah, no, that's definitely the thing I thought of.
Or Benny Hill, what is this thing called? Love?
So,
They just
no,
said the worst Benny Hill in the world. And nobody called me on it. All right, good.
Well, that's fine. I don't know anything about Benny Hill.
Yep. You're youngin'.
Yeah. No, me and Rosehill here are youngins. So, Rose being the youngest of
think so.
everyone here. I'm pretty sure. But yeah, so in terms of the hate against people for being asexual or for trying to say that trying to point out that differentiates you in any way from trying to point out that differentiates you from the average person is how much have you dealt with that online? Or have you avoided it like a different friend of mine?
I've largely avoided it. And I think that's in large part because I'm very careful about curating the spaces that I'm in.
Yeah.
And I block very fast. I'm very casual about that. Because I want my social media experience to be enjoyable to me. So I block easily. But I've definitely seen a lot of vent posts from people in ace groups of like other experiences they've had, and it's a lot sometimes. It's always really clear to me that like people who complain about asexuality or like aces being LGBT plus, or even just like the existence of asexuality, because there are people who like for some reason think it's like the same as celibacy, which no, one is a choice and one's a sexuality. Like it's really obvious that those people have never like spoken to any ace people or listened to any ace people at all, because you hear about a lot of like sexuality related violence in ace groups, like that ace people have experienced from either people who have tried to date them or people who are interested in them or like their own family, just because they're not attracted to people. So like it's not something I've experienced myself, but it's definitely something that I've seen a lot of like within the community online.
Yeah.
Well, sitting where I am, I can tell you that I've heard a lot of people talking about it, and they think that somebody who's asexual, one, has had a bad experience.
Oh my god.
And it's made them this way.
Oh my god, the
Great
classic
experiences, and I'm still this way.
the classic the repackaged homophobia.
Oh yes. Yep.
That's exactly what that is.
And the other one is that they're just not doing it right.
Oh god. That's yeah, no. That's not no, that's not how that works.
It is not.
Yeah, it's just it's weird how some people care about that, and it's just
this is sometimes coming from people who give all evidence of genuinely they're trying to understand.
Mm-hmm.
But this is as close an approach as they can make to it, and you're just going, I don't think you've really given this a good effort.
Yeah, because it's
try to imagine it like golf.
What? Yeah, no, the golf analogy is really good. And I feel
analogies all the time.
And golf analogy really explains my general amounts of sexual attraction. I would have to really like a golfer for me to care about them golfing, and only occasionally.
I'm not going to watch you every time you want to golf.
Yeah, no, that's no. it's just not interesting enough. I don't get the point. I don't get the big deal. Yeah, and it's just, it's so, it's weird how much sex assumption I get there it seems to be in society. And it's one of those things where it's very much not obvious to a lot of allosexual people, but like, because I guess that, like, I don't know.
Do you want me to tell you a specific story about that?
Yes. I want to hear it now.
So, a couple years back, I was in a writing group. I had been in this, like, writing critique class, and afterwards we formed this writing group. And I'd brought in a short story with an ace romance. So, like, there's two characters, they were both ace, they got together in the story, and this one guy in the writing group went on, like, a 5-minute rant about how childish it felt because there wasn't sexual attraction. And I finally had to stop him because he wasn't ending, he was just going on and on. I finally had to stop him and go, they're ace, they're not going to feel any sexual attraction. And he was like,
Yeah.
Oh. And then he just had nothing else to say. Like, there was no concept for him of any romance being possible without sexual attraction.
Yeah, that's so fucking weird to me. Like, I'm like, cause yeah, cause obviously it's one of those things, when you experience something, sometimes it's a lot easier to understand that, and it takes a lot more work to understand how those can be so connected, because it's always disconnected for me, because I always was capable, at the very least, of experiencing some amount of strong feelings towards anyone, regardless of gender, and definitely I have experienced romantic feelings towards people regardless of gender, but, like, I have an aversion to male secondary sexual characteristics, and I definitely am not super interested in male primary sexual characteristics. So it's like, it's very easy for me to get that. Well, I had a lot of confusion as well about because it is assumed to all be connected. So it's like, I was like, well, I'm not into guys, but I can have feelings towards guys, but I don't fully understand what those feelings are. And so it's just like, until if I had learned about the split attraction model earlier, I would have been like, oh yeah, that's it. That's what's going on here. I'm capable of romantic feelings towards anyone, and through strange circumstances, I'm capable of sexual feelings towards some women.
I would have liked to have learned basically all of this at a much younger age, because I basically called myself a broken bisexual until my late 20s. Because I knew I didn't feel sexual attraction, and that wasn't like everyone else, and I didn't know there was any words for it, so I just thought it was broken. Like, I would have really loved the words for this young.
Yeah. And it's one of those things where there's so many overlapping experiences. Like, you briefly touched on this, the corrective rape thing.
Mm-hmm.
The corrective rape attitude, the sort of attitude that what you should be doing is you should be having sex more, and then you will find the person that you will sex as, like, all the time to, and want to sex all the time to. It's sort of
I think that falls under the "you aren't doing it right" rubric.
Yes. It's very much like, or you haven't found the right person. You haven't found the right person, which, I mean, to some degree, obviously, if you're demisexual, that kinda can be the case. That finding the right person can be the case in some way, but like it's not a good. It's incredibly harmful for pretty much every other sexuality out there. I mean, and also it's repackaged homophobia.
Right. And also,
Everything's repackaged homophobia.
Yeah. and repackaged racism.
And repackaged, yeah.
Yeah, but like even being demi and like being attracted to my husband and enjoying sex with my husband, like I still knew that I wasn't attracted to other people, and that was a different enough experience from everyone else around to make me feel broken for years. Like that doesn't make the problem go away, and like for some reason people sometimes think it does with demi, and like it doesn't. There's
Yeah, no, that's
with
fair.
demisexuality in particular.
Yeah, no, that's fair. I'm sorry. I fell into that accident for a moment there. But yeah, no, I totally get that. And it's it's weird how it takes a lot of effort. I guess in my mind, it takes a lot of effort to like hate someone for being on the asexual spectrum.
Right?
Like,
I feel like that in general. Like, A, just trust people when they say they are who they are, and like B, stop like hating them for it. Like, why do you make this so difficult?
well, I mean, so if you're conservative enough, I understand enough about a particular type of fascist mentality which bleeds over to some conservative circles who care about and this is the conversation that's used about everything, which is everything becomes about repopulation and making a powerful nation. That sort of attitude. I'm like, okay, yeah. I understand why you're being hateful, but it's still awful.
Right. There is that.
You're saying that people complain that your sex won't be productive enough?
or if you're not having sex, you're not being productive at all. People on the asexual spectrum were sent into concentration camps along with a lot of LGBT people, because it was women. Like, it was essentially people who were either choosing not to try to get in relationships and reproduce. It was seen as wrong by and something seen as wrong by any fascist organization, and that's what a lot of LGBT stuff. You almost you can't really be pro LGBT and pro fascist. Doesn't really work out. I mean,
I suppose, yeah, that would be. Well,
I mean, there are people who can ignore it and let someone get away with it as one of the good ones, like Blair White's sort of goal, but
anyway, there she is. I knew we could not talk about it.
Well, I mean, I start to go into fascism. Okay, how could I not bring up fascism and LGBT plus? How could Blair White not be mentioned? She
right.
is
a. And I mean, right after her, we got to mention J.K. Rowling. Rules, okay. The show has rules. We have to follow them.
Yeah.
And Rose of Dawn. Then.
Okay. Fuck those people.
We have the triumvirate named now.
Well, when when you it's
Okay,
trying-
fascism always is taking normal biological functions of people, the normal social biological things that people will do, even if you outlaw them, and then they take control of them and thereby take control of the people. That's basically the methods.
Yeah.
So yes, if you're not showing all the usual handles of control, they're going to find that objectionable.
Well, plus there's the the rebirth, the birth, and all of that. I mean,
Well, yeah, 'cause-
the first person who had the sexual reassignment surgery was killed by the Nazis. So
Yeah.
and it's not the Danish girl, although everybody thinks it is. So
Yeah.
Gender confirmation surgery. I don't know what we're calling it this week. I don't.
Well,
I just want it done.
Okay, I know that feeling because it changed. It swapped names like halfway through dealing with transitioning. So like I go into the therapist office in like 2010, and they're like telling me all the steps needed for sex reassignment surgery, and then I finally managed to get back in like 2016 or 2015, 2016, and they're like gender confirmation surgery, and I'm just like, wait.
It's called something different now, which I'm totally thrown by.
Oh wait, I might be mixing one. I could swear it was gender confirming surgery now, but
no, gender confirmation surgery. It was just when I was starting to seriously think about it, and that's only in 2017. Which it was sexual reassignment still, and then gender confirmation surgery was sometime in 2018-19, and then it switched sometime last year. And I don't remember the new term, but I like the new term the best. But I don't care what they call it.
What's
I
the
don't.
new term?
I don't know. I don't remember it.
I don't remember either. Like we're we're the worst trans representatives. We don't even remember the name of the surgery.
I feel like I've seen a new term for it, but I also don't remember.
Yeah.
We get.
It would take me a few minutes to find it again, but
Well, I mean, I could probably.
Not.
You know what? I'm just really lazy. Okay.
Because I know where to look.
Yes. Yeah.
But that's neither here nor there. And
maybe it's
Well, gender reassignment was pretty objectionable. I mean, just on so many levels. It's
gender reassignment surgery is
yeah. As a term, it was always. I mean,
no. See, that's what I thought was in between for the most part.
No, gender confirmation. I don't need anybody to confirm my gender. I know what my gender is.
Well, whatever. It's still. Wait, is it still that way everywhere in? No, it's listed as gender confirming surgery in Minnesota, so maybe it got updated like where you are.
Oh, but I'm just saying that possibly somebody has a better term for it. I could see where somebody could have problems with the idea of that was that somehow if you don't get the surgery, it's disconfirming of your gender identity. That you can't have certain physical forms and have that identity, and that's a problem. That's the basic problem with the gender reassignment surgery. It's saying that those characteristics assign your gender.
Yeah.
Reassigning it by doing that, you go, that That's a bad mentality right there.
Yeah, that's classic transmedicalism. Don't get me started on transmedicalism.
If I may, just as a side note, because of trans medicalists, it's so to say something actually okay about her, that
Wait,
one, Blair.
Wait, you're saying something good about Blair White? Oh no, you're
Not-
gonna get us canceled.
Not good, but understanding. About her.
Oh, okay, that's different.
Okay, yeah,
Yes.
that's a behavior.
We can understand villains. That's why there are charismatic villains out there in
She's
stories.
not a charismatic villain.
Well, I know she isn't, but she's an understandable, easy to hate villain. But you understand where she's coming from in that you have not always. A lot of the time I don't understand where the fuck she's coming from.
But Magneto was just trying to make the world safe for his people.
Yes, but Blair has been. I find this a hypocrisy in the way she deals with trans medicalism.
Oh yeah,
She's not getting surgery. So
she's not getting the surgery down there.
Yeah, I'm sorry, the surgery. It's like
There's more than one possible surgery. I'm getting like
she's gotten the other ones.
well, yeah. I mean, because she's rich. I don't know if she just got like a rich boyfriend or what, or rich, if she got money from Republican donors.
No, I actually know the answers to that, and I think that one I would like to kind of not get into.
Okay.
And no, it's not because you started off rich.
Okay. We can avoid that. So,
well, yeah. What's public is public, and what's not is stuff I don't talk about generally.
Yeah, exactly. So, back to asexuality. Like, one of the things that I think the most frustrating thing that there are two things that I've heard that I think are the most annoying things when asexuality gets brought up. One, there's the focus on asexuality as if it was not having sex. Simply not having sex. The other is that demisexuality is how most women experience sexual attraction.
It's a socially acceptable option for women.
Yeah, but it's just like that's not how people don't work that way, and you can't just like be like, oh, demisexuality. That's just what women normally have. That's normally
that trope is so prevalent in media that it was actually like part of my confusion growing up. That like, because like you see this everywhere that like the pure woman is not going to be attracted to any men until she finds like the man, and then like suddenly sexual attraction happens, and it's a very demi story, and it did not occur to me. And like as someone who fell in love with her childhood sweetheart and got married at 18 and like had an enjoyable sex life, like it didn't occur to me that there was something weird about that story until like I started talking to other like grown-up adults about like sex slave stuff, and then realized that no, like everyone else is basically attracted to other people that they are attracted to, and like I'm just not, like, at all. So like it was very weird to suddenly realize that like, oh hey, this story of like a normal experience is not at all normal, like at all.
Yeah, and it's just very like it's just one of those things where to some degree sanitizing things made things more confusing.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
But yeah, no, I still hate the thing where it's like, oh, this character didn't have sex, so therefore they must be great asexual representation. Like,
Like,
no.
that's not how that works.
Yeah,
Like,
Gandalf didn't have sex, therefore he's great asexual representation.
He
I've
didn't
heard that
have
one.
sex for so long. He went all the way from Gandalf the Grey to Gandalf the White.
I can honestly say I've never given a thought to Gandalf's sex life before this.
Yeah, I mean, fair, but I mean that's at the very least I've seen that example given before. It's a little bit more.
Oh, I hadn't. It was the first thing that popped into my head.
Yeah. Like it's different if the creator like actively states it. Because I know the only person I can think of off the top of my head who the creator said was asexual. I think asexual and aromantic is SpongeBob.
Okay.
And sorry, I was looking at chat and the internal screaming was the intensifying because there's a little bit of a delay, but it's just, yeah.
What happened?
Oh, because of because of what we were talking about before with the asexuality representation.
I have heard that Bojack Horseman or a character on there is ace rep, but I have not seen the show.
Yeah, I did hear that as well. And it's one of those things where, if I recall from everything I've heard about that, they at the very least tried to give a more, like actually talk to people on the asexual spectrum and be like, try to find out about it. That's the impression I got, but
I was chatting with some ace friends a while ago about representation, like specifically in books because we are book people, and about how there's not a lot of explicit ace rep, but I think there's a lot of implied ace rep, like in the demi examples we were talking about of like this is the acceptable attraction for womanhood, or in things like the Ice Queen trope, where
wait, what's the Ice Queen trope?
So the Ice Queen trope is basically specifically a woman. For some reason, you only ever see this with.
Oh yeah, that's the worst part about that, because obviously there's plenty of men who are asexual and demisexual and all that stuff.
About.
Yeah.
Yes. But the Ice Queen trope is like particularly with women, where she just does not seem to show attraction to anyone at all, which is giving off definite ace vibes, but is also cold and unemotional. And so there tends to be this whole thing about like breaking or melting the Ice Queen, which gets back into the like corrective rape thing that aces talk about all the time. So that is the whole thing.
Yeah. No, that's definitely yeah. It's almost like people don't know how to write about certain things they might experience. Although the Ice Queen thing sounds like the stereotypical rejected guy's view on women.
I feel like there's part of that.
It
used to be she must be a lesbian.
That would go very well for a. That would go very well in the detective genre.
Wait, what would?
Having the main the detective be asexual, In fact, I think that Hercule Poirot was. Though they didn't call it.
Canonically or implied, because sometimes they're just like, I only want to write about detective work, so I don't deal with any sort of relationship stuff. And that's not necessarily the same thing, because it might not be, it might just be the style of the novel or whatnot, or the type of thing. That's where it gets into the representation, because there's certain aspects of the experience that aren't even touched upon most of the time in that stuff.
The
well, the phenomena isn't new, and I think that Dorothy Sayers was writing a character who was asexual, and I think that she was expressly clear that he was asexual.
Hercule Poirot?
Yeah.
Agatha Christie.
Agatha Christie, sorry.
That's fine. Nero Wolfe was actually the only canonically ace detective that you would find, because it was always a bone of contention between him and Archie Goodwin, his assistant, who was hypersexualized, and that he had absolutely no interest in sex on any level.
I do think I remember that too, yes.
Yeah.
And Good Omens. Good Omens, I know that both of the central characters there, who are not, human, are the angels there, are expressly supposed to be asexual.
Yeah, I mean, you're definitely getting more people at the very least trying, and they're definitely making an effort to talk about that, and I think with a lot of stuff you end up with pushback, especially because chastity was something valued by a lot of Christian culture. And so you can have someone not experience sexual attraction in the story but have it be explained due to their chastity and not simply because of who they are.
Or explained due to their holiness.
Yeah. And
well, part of it was with Hercule Poirot. It was the difference was expressed as being he was not the confirmed bachelor, i.e. gay. He was just asexual. That it's defining a difference and making it clear that he was not the confirmed bachelor. What would be called the confirmed bachelor in the slang of the time.
Yes.
Yeah, I don't know with that. I don't know with that stuff, and I'm not, like, unless I have, it's one of those things where, I mean, like with trans stuff, like there's a lot of guessing whether or not that's related to the author's intent, or if that makes the most sense for the character. But like, because that stuff has been around. There's been stories about people changing physiological characteristics forever, and that's also been around forever. And who knows? Paul, the guy who wrote the gospel and was really anti-sex, seemed the most anti-sex, may have had an aversion to sexuality.
I've often wondered that.
Yeah, because it's and it could have just been pure coincidence that an asexual person helped influence a part of Christianity.
Well, the just to harp on Paul, this is actually a little bit of my area. So the most of the anti-sex stuff in Paul is not actual Paul.
Gotcha.
Just side noting that there. But he also thought that the world was going to end during his lifetime, so why shouldn't anybody else be happy?
Yeah, it could have just been like it could have been like a one of the other things, but like I realize we're technically at the point where we can go off topic, but a part of me wants to still talk about asexuality
We're past the
stuff.
watershed.
We were past the watershed point, but it's just another thing. I mean, I'm at the point where I just want to rant about some stuff that's annoying. Like the obsession with whether or not you have had sex, and as if it's some sort of important thing. Like,
Yes.
it shouldn't be an insult. Calling someone a virgin shouldn't be an insult or a compliment or anything. Just like...
I have objections to virgin as a term in its entirety because it presupposes a very heterosexual view of sex that, like, frankly, isn't that interesting. Like, A, there's a hell of a lot more to sex. Like, please expand your horizons. And B, like, it's not that relevant what people have done. Let people do whatever makes them most happy. Like, leave them alone.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But the representation thing is something that's interesting to me because, okay, for instance, recently watching a cop show, during their interactions, a cop was inviting other cops to a cookout. And he said to one cop, you know, be sure to be there and tell your husband, pause, they supplied the name, I don't, Gerald, tell Gerald to bring his potato salad. Okay, and the cop was a guy, and there was nothing more said about it. It wasn't a very special episode. It wasn't introducing that the guy was gay. The guy was just gay, and nothing more is said about it.
Yeah,
okay?
and
you go, ta-da! Okay, that's what I consider to be when you have finally won on the gay representation in things, when they're gay and it doesn't matter that they're gay. How do you do that with asexual?
So a fun note about that. So I'm Demi, which is on the A spectrum, and my girlfriend is Ace. And so like we go out grocery shopping together, and people just see us as like a lesbian couple. Like we're both Ace. No one knows this but us. Like there's not a good way to show that.
Well, I think when it comes to showing that it's hard. It's one of those things where it's easier to show it over time, but it's not. It's hard to show it with like a minor character. You almost have to have like a main character or relatively major character to show it. So because it's little things. It's easier to tell with just like little hints. And the thing is, there's so much variety, and so few people.
And this is, I was gonna say, my geek brain went to infinite diversity and infinite combinations, but Star Trek, I had a place to go there, and I suddenly was beating myself up for thinking it. I can see how it can be done, and again, and I'm gonna pick Nero Wolf. I know I'm reasonably sure Perfict has probably read them, but it
does lie somewhere in the distant past, but yeah.
Yes, it very much flies in the or it was so much a part of the character that I actually was part of the thing I enjoyed about it. I'm not. I've been. I have loved someone. I have loved a few people deeply, and therefore we're good. But and I've honest to God, I'm trying to just fumble to find where I was, and I'm kind of lost here.
It's okay. If you come back to it, we can quick, snap back to you. So we can. So it'll be easier for you to find that thread again.
Yeah.
No, it's just I guess it's weird how little things. Maybe I've started to run out of topics. Maybe this is why we can talk about anything now, because maybe I've lost my
I can
thread.
talk more about Ace Rep and books if you want.
I mean, I know. While I was figuring myself out, I know. The interesting thing about writing characters is, like, I know the character and the thing the novel I'm closest to finishing, or novella, or however small it ends up, small or big it ends up. I know that character is asexual and aromantic. I know a character in a different story I've written, because I've got like a million story ideas and only a little bit written about like half of them. I know one of the characters in another story I had was demisexual, and because I wanted to make that character closer to how I felt or whatnot. And there's something, I don't know, there's something freeing about seeing potential representation and having someone be open about how they feel and be themselves and not have to be like stereotypical, the expected cishet normality.
Mm-hmm. One thing that's really nice about writing ace characters is that you can get into their head and like make it clear that they're ace. Like, even if they're like in a historical setting or in a second world setting where they don't always like have the words, like you can show through their emotions and through like their inner thoughts that, like, yes, they are ace or they are demi, like in a way that is harder to convey in like a TV show or like with background characters, like what Perfict mentioned in his example.
Yeah, I could see how to write that to do it with the central character.
Yeah, with like a central, with a point of view character.
Cop show, once again. Yeah, because then they're the partners who are investigating the crimes, and one of them, the other person can figure it out over the course of a season by going, I keep trying to set you up with people and there's no success. What's going on? And well, I'm asexual, and they can talk about that, and then so on, and then that becomes part of the character. And so you can bring it up that way, but with somebody who's just background, that's really not going to come up. This is.
Well, I think Ford Prefect was ace, but
you know what?
That was entirely for Perfict.
Yes.
I also know that reference.
Then good.
Well, of course, because you're
it's
better
okay.
read than me.
No,
I know who the character is. I just like never actually thought about Ford Prefect's sexuality or lack thereof. I legit
not sure what it would be that would sexually arouse him.
Yeah, but what I was gonna say is, you brought up a good point about getting in their head, because I know I'm not finished with the book, but I mean the main character, it like I do intentionally not have the words for things, because a lot of the attitude is very medieval. Some of the stuff is a little bit different because there is magic, but magic doesn't fix everything. Especially because they understand about as much as the human body as like a few different ancient cultures. I think theirs is a bit closest to ancient Indian a doctoral reference, but it's just because I know the character isn't interested in relationships and definitely has a motivation. So it starts out with the magician entering the place, and the main character has a strong motivation for an excuse to leave town because they're just going to try to set her up in a relationship and try to get out of it. And I know that itself does not express everything, and there are going to be elements, because I have like a whole series of novels in my head, and I just like need to write them.
That is the most important part.
Yes, it is. I mean, mostly I have just snippets, bits of like three or four other books that the main character will be involved in.
Once in a while, I get great satisfaction out of somebody calling me, that I'm unlearned. And I get to say I've written more books than you've read.
Yeah, no, that's
at
that's
least for
nice.
nothing else. Yeah.
Yeah, but like, it becomes more and more obvious once she gets like some education studying magic, and she meets other people, and like the small town where she's in is a lot focused on arranged marriage, but in the magician stuff, a lot of the people are a little bit more upper class, so they're willing to deal with it goes into more the confusion relating to how her friend has sexual feelings and like a sexual desire, and she doesn't, and like it goes into a lot more of her self exploration there, because the first book is more of it is a lot more focused on the world, whereas the second book with her will have a lot more focus on her internal struggles, and her asexuality and aromanticism will be more dealt in. And I say that about, I'm getting like teary-eyed over a character that in a novel that I haven't even started writing that's supposed to be the next book in a novel that I haven't finished.
One page a day, sweetie.
No, I know. I'm a little bit more focused on the streaming thing to feel like I'm actually. I guess the streaming thing makes me feel more like I'm actually doing something. Because the thing that can get demoralizing about writing is. It's possible for books to never feel finished.
Yeah.
Yes.
And there is an end point, but like, and you'll know it when you see it type thing.
Wait till you get notes from your editor.
Right.
Yeah, that's pretty much where that goes from there. And no, you won't know it when you see it, but you'll just it'll be done.
Well,
Right.
the book will be
That's the thing that they don't tell you. You'll know it when you see it. I know it'll be finished when I know. No.
You just have to finish it. You just have
Yeah.
to be done with it at one point.
There's a book that I just like had to be done with, and I sent it out querying, and like even now I'm like, oh, I could make this major change, and that would end up with me having to rewrite the whole thing. But you know what? That's okay. I pulled it from querying anyway. It's fine.
Yeah, no, my problem is I obsessively
Yes, just stop right there. That's part. That's part of.
I obsessively obsessive. No, the magical system, like not the magical system, but the it's very easy for me to obsess about the medical system, the language, because technically they're not writing in English, and technically the main character starts to learn how to read in the book. So I have to understand a little bit about what's going. I don't need everything, but I need enough to get across the feeling, because like she's someone in a small town who got apprenticed essentially with
right.
the right attitude. But
let's do this. I'll do a quick writing coaching.
okay.
Do you know your beginning?
Yes.
Do you know your ending?
Yes.
Do you have one good scene in the middle?
Yes.
You're done. Now go write it.
Right from the beginning to that middle scene, and then right from the middle scene to the end.
That's pretty much.
Or
it.
sorry.
I know.
I get that. There's a lot. I say one interesting scene. There's more than one interesting scene.
Well,
Even better, but
no, because there's the sort of call to action type scene, and there's definitely a scene in the middle that's near the climax.
Okay. Here's
and
the
I've
question.
got generalized written out.
Can
I
you
just want to
arrange
add a little
those
bit more
scenes?
details. What?
Can you arrange those scenes in your mind sequentially?
Yeah.
You're golden.
No, I have this whole story in my head. I just want to flesh it out a little so I can.
Don't fleshing out is for second draft.
Well, yeah, I know. No. I've written the first draft before. Like I've written most. Okay. I've written most of the first draft, and it's one of those things where sometimes it's easier for me to write another draft if I just start over from the beginning again.
Okay,
and just write and flesh stuff out more.
This is how I do novels. Essentially, I will write 10,000 words to give myself an idea if it works or not. I'll have an ending in mind, but I'll write 10,000 words, ditch it, and start over. Because by then I'll have some idea of where it's going, of what I'm trying to do. The what I'm trying to do is the hard part. But you can be totally ignorant of what you're trying to do too. That happens. The one I'm really stalled on. I'm stalled on now, which is weird because I don't get writer's block. Is something I wrote in 95 where the rejections more or less said you don't know what it's about yet, and it was a very heavy duty trans allegory, and I'm like, oh, okay, well I get it now. And although for various reasons, and it 95 so yes, I'm having some stuck on that, but that's because I want to do everything perfectly, and that's not going to happen. So just basically doing the best you can and fixing little errors that crop up once you get to the end, but you have to actually get to the end.
Yeah.
Strangely enough, the 10,000 words I wrote to see if it was a good idea on the one in 95 is more trans than the actual novel came out to be.
This has turned into a writing podcast.
Well, yeah. No, it's
There we are. My advice would be is one, you have to get it written, then you need to get it shopped out, and you kind of have to reach the point that you're willing to release it into the world, but you have to understand that you can't say you're just done with it, because you're going to get back notes on it, and sometimes they're going to be right. They're going to say, hey, there's this character that you started to develop, but then it doesn't go anywhere, and you either need to develop that character or get rid of it. And you're going to go back and look at it, and you're going to go, you're absolutely right about that. I either need to get rid of that character or I need to develop that character, one or the other. And that's a lot of writing that you now need to do to fix that. And so you're going to have to do that, writing it over again, one way or the other, to make it a good book.
Although I will say, with the trans allegory thing, nobody would tell me what they meant by "you don't understand it yet." And when I finally came out, at least one of them came back to me and said, "Oh, thank God you figured it out."
Yeah, and I don't know. Books are weird, because like, I have. So I've got a book on the back burner that I have the whole general aspect of the story completely out in my head, like chapter by chapter. I think I have a chapter by chapter breakdown of everything that happens in the book, or everything that will happen in the book, I should say. And which is, and I'm like, I want to become a better writer before. Because that it's very much one of those circumstances where it
I'm sighing in procrastination here.
Yeah, it just feels like I want to actually accomplish, or I want to get better as a writer.
You know how you get better as a writer?
You write more.
You write more.
You write the thing.
And then you edit it.
And then you edit, yeah.
And then you let people see it.
Yes. Well, yeah, see, I wanted to do something that I thought would be easier for me, which was going to be a short story about a magician coming to town, and then something happened in the story, which was a perfect, amazing moment to start the bigger aspect of the adventure. And then they traveled to a town, and they met all these different people, and then they're trying to help the main character because of reasons that happened. That was the reason why I couldn't end it in a short story. And then all these things were gonna happen, and I know where the ending is. I just want this to be really good. But it started off with me trying to write an easy short story, and the story didn't let me leave it as easy.
That happens more times than you can count.
Oh, I'm sure it does. It's just there is one novel I have that
there's such a fatal flaw that I can't rewrite it because it would destroy the story. But it is a truly fatal flaw in the story itself. So that'll happen too. Yeah, I just
I also, setting up and going, I'm going to set aside an hour session 3 times a week when I will either be writing or not writing. Those are the two things I will be doing during that time, either writing or not writing. And you will find it makes your mind think about what you're going to do during that hour when you're not in that hour.
Yeah.
And therefore, when you are in that hour, you're going to write and it'll happen and you'll do it. And then you might do it. You might say, I want to do it a bit more. But if you just not writing 3 hours a week actually can get you to write, if you understand.
Oh, yes.
Writing time is great for productivity.
Yeah, no, it is. Like, even if you're just like, even if you write one word in that hour, the first time you do it, you wrote one word more. That's one word more in the novel. My current issue is I'm trying to sort out, because my roommates do want me to move out, so I have to sort out low-income housing and, like, a billion other things. Well, not a billion other things. Actually, not a lot of things now. I've sorted out, like, a fair amount. But the low-income housing is going to be the most annoying one. But yeah, and once I know where I can be, it'll be easier for me to set aside time to just focus on writing. Although that attitude might be actually bad to have, because there can always be another problem. Now that I'm like saying it out loud, I realize I may have made a fatal flaw there.
I used to write in the break room at work, whatever job I had.
Oh my god, I did too. I used to write on my phone when I was starting my story, or at some point in my story, I was writing on my phone in the break room of a warehouse.
Oh my. I handwrite my first drafts.
Before they made us all work from home, I was known for sitting in the corner of the break room every single day at lunch with my laptop and just writing for an hour straight.
Yeah. I know. I think my most interesting writing came not long after my traumatic brain injury. No. I was writing a bit more then, or trying to. I think I just got. It was a lot easier to do. It was a lot easier to get frustrated with stuff. You know, with the traumatic brain injuries do that. Although it is fun reading. It was fun reading back at some point. Because at some point, I read it back and I was just like, some of this makes no sense. This falls apart, like, at some point. But, like, because I'd written some things, like, 4 or 5 days after getting hit by a car as a pedestrian, and that traumatic brain injury, like, that's my worst thinking. that was when I did that was when I genuinely did not talk about things in a way that made sense always, when it was that soon afterwards.
I can speak for myself, but I'm pretty sure it applies. I'm not trying to browbeat you about this either. It's one of those things that's hard to get used to. Once I learned to read again after the strokes, it took a while to really be able to do anything, and even now it's a little bit of a struggle. So
yeah, like I had an easy time compared to you. So
well, I'm not. No, I'm.
No, I am playing that game of what's it called? I can't even think of the made up game. With people when they're comparing their problems.
And we liked it.
No, it's the game. I'm thinking of it. Whatever. I thought of, at some point I knew analogy of making fun of people being like, well, at least you didn't have this experience.
Yeah, it's called
sort
and
of-
we liked it. And we called and we liked it.
Oh,
It's the- that-
Yeah.
that is the name of it.
Oh, luxury.
You had flaws. Yeah.
you don't know real flaws. Why
Floors. Sorry.
Floors.
My accent.
We
Yeah.
had to walk uphill to school both ways. And you go, you had school?
Yes. No, you see that in some discourse where it just like falls down that hole where it's just like, oh. And to bring it back to there's corrective rate for asexual people. Well, black trans women are getting murdered by people. And the thing, it's like, no, those are both bad things. You can be upset about two bad things at once.
Yeah.
Yeah, speaking of Trump's in the hospital, so I forget I'd say it.
Yes, well, as I said, I found myself in the weird position of actively wishing that Trump would not die.
Why? And also, you got real quiet there. Perfect.
Okay. Why? Because then he'll be a martyr.
Oh. Okay.
Not only
See.
that, there will be a conspiracy theory that the Democrats killed him and assassinated him, and that they used the made-up COVID virus was all part of the plot from the beginning when they brought COVID into it, so they'd have an excuse for why he died when they assassinated him.
Okay.
God, I wish Democrats were that organized.
Right?
Yeah, okay, so, okay, I understand your reasoning. That makes sense. Yeah, no, that is actually something to be concerned about.
Well,
That's not as far-fetched as it should be.
there are more people. Well, okay, to the cynical parts. There are more people on the right who are willing to vote for Mike Pence than for Donald Trump. And because Pence is awful, but within the normal parameters of awful.
An awful lot of people that I know who are really, really, really mad at Donald Trump. They did support Donald Trump, and now they're mad at him because of how he's behaved. They're not mad at Pence.
Well, yeah, but the thing I've heard is the thing that the part of me agrees on, which is that Mike Pence has the personality of a piece of cardboard. He's not a very charismatic person.
He is kind of Melba-toast, yes.
He's like if Johnny Quest had gotten electroshock therapy as an adult.
Yeah, but
The
evil.
problem with him, as governor, he was stating that he thought that what he wanted to see was American government moving towards a theocracy.
Yeah.
And he's done nothing to distance himself from that comment. And that's just weird.
Well, the evil part of me not only doesn't want Trump to die, but wants him to be humiliated and suffer the rest of his life, knowing he was beaten. But
I know, I understand that feeling, but not for Trump. Sorry, you have to get real personal with me for me to be that angry with that wishful of that. Trump he's a bad person, but if he dies or doesn't get elected, then I feel like to some degree, his damage can be undone. I don't know how much though. So long as more fights continue for things.
But my sweet-tempered nature is I don't believe in anybody being irredeemable. So.
I believe that some people are technically, I agree with you. Technically, some people I don't think will. Some people are incredibly unmotivated to have any sort of to acquire redeeming features, and I believe Trump is one of those people.
What does everybody think of the Supreme Court nominee, Amy Coney Barrett?
She's bad.
Yeah.
Okay.
My understanding is he wants to put her in because she'll vote to agree with him, and he doesn't want to leave office ever. So, if you get all the Supreme Court justices like that, you can more easily make fascist actions.
Yes. Also, I mean, but I find there's a couple of things that are interesting on it, which is, one, she has said that she feels that judges should, especially if they're Catholic, ignore the law and follow the precepts of their faith in their judgments. And that she also came out and during the end of the Obama administration explained why it was a legal responsibility to not make a late term appointee to the Supreme Court.
Yeah.
Yeah, there is that, isn't there?
Yeah.
But 5 Republican lawmakers have come down with COVID-19. So.
Sorry.
Senators.
I know it's a little bit cruel to chuckle about that, but let's be honest. Far too much of the Republican Party in America has been too okay with fascist-leaning principles going on, and that's not good.
Well, that's part of what I've heard from a number of people who are Republican who they are just so mad at Trump because they feel he has done irreparable damage to the Republican Party, that it's become the fascist party, and the only way it can survive is if it just dissolves itself and reforms as something new.
I will say, it's worse with Republican senators than representatives. And that's kind of true with just about every senator versus representatives, I feel like.
Yes, because the feeling is that you went along with it. You've been tacitly helping. You've been doing things.
Anyways.
It depends. Louis Gohmert is by far the worst person in Congress. So.
Yeah, I just mean that I don't know. I get the impression that there's a bit more diversity with representatives. Yeah, some of them are probably worse, but I feel like every senator is bad. That being said, we are getting towards the end time.
No, Mike Pence was right.
Perfect. Where can people find you?
Well, they can always find me here. And
wait, what? I thought we were kicking you from the show.
Oh, well, I didn't know that yet.
No, we would never do that.
There's the Rumpus Room. There's the Rumpus Room, the Discord, and there's the Discord for this show, which also is a thing.
Yeah.
Yeah. You and Siren hang out there. Or
I should be in
somewhat.
there more than I am. Christy, where can people find you? Is there anything you're working on?
I had to cancel this week's interview, so I'm probably next week's interview is going to be with Justin Jenkins
Okay.
Science Lab. Chris Abbey Music does have newer stuff up, and I'm recording stuff tomorrow if I can get up the energy. So Christy Abbey, Chris Abbey Music without the TY. I'm forgetting. Right, Normality Quake on Twitter.
And finally, Rose Hill, where can people find you?
I have a WordPress blog, Rose Hill's Writing Grove. I also have Rose Hill Author on Twitter. You can find my Patreon through there if you are interested in short stories and book reviews and whatnot. And I believe those are the main places.
Yeah. And as for me, I can be found Ozma in the Dark just about everywhere. OzmaInTheDark.com. Talking to Nothing on Twitter. It's Talking to Nothing minus the G. I think the main things I have planned that I will definitely do is streaming of World of Warcraft has been moved. I'm now so I will probably be streaming on Twitch only after this for that, and on Saturdays I'll also be streaming World of Warcraft Classic raids, and Wednesdays I might show up to Rico Rant's Among Us gameplay because I occasionally show up there. But that's the main places. I technically have a Discord too, which I don't pay enough attention to, and nobody likes, but it's there, also down there. So with that being said, wow.
Do I let her stew in it for a second?
Yeah, no. I'm just like, your heart matters, your mind matters, you matter, but
Your
let's
voice
your
matters,
life,
your
your
life.
Oh my god.
Your voice matters.
Your voice matters, your life matters, and you matter.
And you matter. Say it like conviction.
Yeah, Perfict can get it right. I can't remember it with crap. But anyways, and thank you to everyone and viewing. You're all wonderful people, probably, I assume. You've all been nice today.
Except you. You know who you are. You just hate watching. You just hate watching, and we see you.
But we appreciate you too.
We appreciate the engagement.
No, we appreciate it. And I occasionally, even if I don't remember to respond, I do occasionally read what's being said in chat. But, yeah. Bye.
Peace.
Wait, where's the... Ah.